The lone messenger, High Admiral Zixtal of the United Galactic Alliance, stood before the massive observation window of the celestial watchtower, his crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars. His attention was fixed on a single point in space where, according to their long-range sensors, a solitary vessel approached Alliance territory. "Confirm the reading," he commanded, his voice resonating through the chamber. "You're certain it's just one ship?" "Absolutely certain, High Admiral," replied Senior Observer Mira, her tentacles dancing across the holographic interface. "A single vessel of human origin. No escort vessels, no support craft, no hidden signatures, just one ship." The concept seemed absurd to Zixtal. In the 10,000 years since the Alliance's formation, no species had ever approached their borders with a single vessel. The Draconians had arrived with a fleet of 1,000 ships. The Quantum Collective had manifested through simultaneous rifts across 12 systems. Even the peaceful, harmonious drift had approached with a ceremonial formation of 700 vessels. But one ship, it defied all protocol, all common sense. "Open a channel," Zixtal ordered, his crystalline structure pulsing with bands of blue light, a sign of his uncertainty. The massive communications array of the watchtower powered up, reaching across the void to the approaching vessel. The response was immediate, but not what anyone expected. Instead of the usual elaborate diplomatic overtures, a simple message appeared. "Greetings. This is the Earth vessel Horizon. We come seeking dialogue and understanding." The brevity was shocking. No formal titles, no listing of achievements or credentials, no elaborate declarations of peaceful intent backed by demonstrations of power. Just, "Hello." Zixtal convened an emergency session of the Alliance Council. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the Great Chamber, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. Some floated as pure energy, others inhabited mechanical shells, while yet others twisted reality around their organic forms. "This is unprecedented," declared Ambassador Vri of the Silicon Consciousness, their holographic form flickering with agitation. "It must be a deception. No species would risk first contact with a single vessel. Unless," interrupted Elder Kithan of the Harmonious Drift, their melodic voice cutting through the chamber's chaos, "they possess something we do not understand." The human ship, designated Horizon, maintained its steady approach. Scans revealed it to be remarkably ordinary by Alliance standards. Its hull was composed of conventional materials, its drive system utilized known principles of faster-than-light travel, and its weapons systems, while present, were purely defensive in nature. Yet something about its ordinary nature made it extraordinary. It was as if the humans had deliberately chosen to come not with their most advanced technology, but with something that represented their standard capabilities. When the Horizon finally entered Alliance space proper, it did something else unexpected. Instead of waiting for an escort or requesting permission to approach, it transmitted its intended course directly to the celestial watchtower. The message was accompanied by a simple note: "We will arrive in 72 hours. We look forward to meeting you." "The audacity," muttered Ambassador Vri. "They dictate terms to us." "No," corrected Elder Kathan, their form shimming with what might have been amusement. "They show trust in us by declaring their intentions openly. They demonstrate confidence by coming alone, and they show respect by giving us time to prepare, while making it clear they require no permission to exist in this space." As the hours passed, more details about the Horizon emerged. Its crew numbered just 150 individuals, a microscopically small number by Alliance standards. But each crew member, they discovered, was cross-trained in multiple disciplines. The ship's captain was not only a military commander, but also a xenobiologist. The chief engineer doubled as a diplomatic liaison. The medical officer was also an expert in xenolinguistics. This versatility challenged everything the Alliance knew about spacecraft operations. Their own vessels required specialized crews numbering in the thousands, each individual focused on a single task to maintain peak efficiency. 48 hours before the scheduled arrival, High Admiral Zixtal made a decision that would later be marked as a turning point in Alliance history. Instead of deploying the customary honor guard of 1,000 ships, he ordered all military vessels to maintain their distance. The horizon would be met as it came, alone. "They have chosen to approach us as equals," he announced to the Council, "not as supplicants seeking admission to our alliance, nor as conquerors demonstrating their might. They come as they are, offering us the same courtesy they hope to receive. We shall do no less." When the horizon finally came into visual range of the celestial watchtower, its appearance was almost anticlimactic. A sleek vessel of modest size, its hull bearing the simple marking, Horizon, Earth, and a stylized symbol that would later be identified as the United Nations emblem. But as it made its final approach, something became clear to all observers. The ship moved with a grace that spoke of absolute mastery, its course calculated to the millisecond, its position perfect to the millimeter. This was not the hesitant approach of an inferior civilization, but the confident arrival of one that knew exactly who they were and what they represented. The first transmission from the Horizon's captain would be studied for decades to come, not for what was said, but for how it was said. "We appreciate your welcome." Captain Sarah Chen's voice came clearly through the Alliance's communication systems. "We come alone because we believe that true understanding begins with vulnerability. We are ready to meet whenever you are prepared to receive us." High Admiral Zixtal, looking at the small ship that had defied all their expectations, felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: curiosity. The humans had taken every convention of first contact and turned it on its head. They had demonstrated power through restraint, confidence through vulnerability, and wisdom through simplicity. Perhaps, he thought, that was the point all along. Hidden strengths. The docking procedure of the Horizon revealed the first hint that the human vessel was far more than it appeared. Instead of requiring the celestial watchtower's automated guidance systems, the ship executed a perfect manual docking maneuver, something that hadn't been attempted at the station in over 3 centuries. Ambassador Vri watched through multiple sensor feeds as the human vessel's hull seamlessly aligned with the station's adaptive docking port. "Impossible," they muttered, their holographic form flickering with agitation. "Our simulations indicated their navigation systems weren't advanced enough for such precision." "They aren't using advanced systems," Elder Kayfen observed, their melodic voice carrying a note of fascination. "That's pure skill. Look at the minute adjustments, the perfect timing. This is muscle memory, not computer guidance." The delegation that emerged from the Horizon defied expectations just as thoroughly as their ship had. 7 humans walked onto the station, led by Captain Sarah Chen. They wore simple blue uniforms bearing only rank insignia and name tags, carrying no weapons or defensive devices. Most shocking of all, they wore no environmental suits, having somehow adapted to the station's atmosphere despite never having encountered it before. High Admiral Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with bands of curious green light as he approached the human delegation. "Captain Chen," he greeted, "your confidence in our life support systems is remarkable." Chen smiled, a gesture that many of the gathered alien representatives found simultaneously disarming and mysterious. "We studied the atmospheric composition from our approach vector," she explained. "Our medical officer confirmed compatibility within acceptable parameters. We believed arriving ready to breathe your air would be a better demonstration of trust than hiding behind protective barriers." The humans were escorted to the grand reception chamber, the vast space designed to accommodate diplomatic meetings between drastically different species. As they walked, Ambassador Vri couldn't help but notice how each human moved with precise awareness of their surroundings, their eyes constantly scanning, their positions shifting in subtle patterns that seemed almost choreographed. "You move like warriors," Vri observed, unable to contain their suspicion. "We move like survivors," corrected Dr. James Rodriguez, the Horizon's chief engineer and diplomatic liaison. "On Earth, adaptability isn't just an advantage, it's a necessity." The formal introductions revealed the true nature of the Horizon's unusual crew complement. Each member of the delegation carried multiple roles that would have required separate specialists in any Alliance species. Captain Chen was not only a starship commander, but held doctorates in xenobiology and quantum mechanics. The ship's doctor, Dr. Maya Patel, was also their chief xenolinguist and cultural specialist. Even their youngest officer, Lieutenant David O'Connor, served as both navigation specialist and emergency medical technician. During the preliminary discussions, Elder Cathan posed the question that had been haunting the Alliance Council: why send such a small crew? Surely it increases the risk of mission failure if key personnel are lost. Captain Chen's response was characteristically direct. We believe that strength lies not in numbers, but in resilience. Each member of our crew can perform multiple roles because that's how humanity has always survived. We adapt, we learn, we grow. A larger crew would have meant more specialists, more rigid structures, more points of potential failure. The truth of her words was demonstrated dramatically during the formal dinner that followed. The station's atmospheric processors suddenly malfunctioned, causing a dangerous shift in gas composition. Before the Alliance's emergency systems could even begin to respond, the Horizon's crew had already sprung into action. Lieutenant O'Connor immediately began recalibrating the nearest atmospheric control panel, while Dr. Patel coordinated with the station's medical team to assess affected individuals. Engineer Rodriguez, working with tools he'd never seen before, managed to bypass the failing processors entirely. Captain Chen, meanwhile, calmly directed both her crew and the station's personnel, coordinating efforts with an efficiency that left the Alliance representatives stunned. The crisis was resolved in minutes, without a single casualty. What would have required dozens of specialists and hours of coordinated effort from an Alliance crew had been handled by 7 humans in mere moments. Now you understand, Captain Chen said afterward, addressing the still-shocked council. We sent one ship because one ship was all we needed. We sent a small crew because a small crew is more adaptable, more capable of rapid response and innovative solutions. This isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength. High Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form pulsed with deep blue light as realization dawned. The humans hadn't come to impress the Alliance with numbers or technological might. They had come to demonstrate a fundamentally different approach to survival and advancement. Later that evening, as the human delegation returned to their ship for rest, Elder Cathan shared an observation with the Council that silenced all remaining doubts. They show us not what they can build, but what they can become. Each of them carries within themselves the potential of many, adapted to face whatever challenges arise. They sent one ship not because they couldn't send more, but because one ship carries within it all the potential they needed to show us. The Alliance was beginning to understand that they weren't dealing with a species that measured strength in fleets or technology, but in the boundless adaptability of their individuals. The Horizon wasn't just a ship. It was a testament to humanity's unique approach to survival in a vast and unpredictable universe. The trial of values. The crisis began 3 days after the Horizon's arrival at the Celestial Watchtower. A distress signal reached the Alliance Council from the Meridian Colony, a remote settlement housing members of 12 different species. A quantum storm, unprecedented in its magnitude, was tearing through the colony's protective shields. Traditional evacuation protocols were impossible. The storm's interference made large-scale fleet operations suicidal. The Alliance Council erupted into chaos. The Draconian representatives demanded immediate military intervention. The Silicon Consciousness suggested sacrificing the colony to gather data on the phenomenon. The Harmonious Drift began their species' traditional mourning rituals, accepting the loss as inevitable. In the midst of this chaos, Captain Chen's voice cut through the chamber with quiet authority. We can help. Ambassador Vree's holographic form crackled with disbelief. One ship, against a quantum storm that would destroy an entire rescue fleet. This is not the time for human bravado. This is exactly the time for human ingenuity, Chen responded, her eyes showing not confidence, but focused determination. The storm makes large ships impossible. Then send one small one. Multiple species need evacuation. We've already proven our ability to adapt to different atmospheric conditions. Complex rescue operations required. Every member of my crew is trained for exactly this kind of scenario. High Admiral Zixel's crystalline form pulsed with rapid colors as he processed the implications. The Meridian colony houses over 3,000 individuals. Your ship cannot possibly accommodate them all. We don't intend to. Engineer Rodriguez stepped forward, already manipulating a holographic display. We've analyzed the colony's structure. The quantum storm isn't uniform. It's following predictable patterns of chaos theory. We don't need to evacuate the colony. We need to reinforce it. The next hour was a demonstration of problem solving that would be studied in Alliance academies for generations to come. The Horizon's crew laid out a plan that seemed to defy conventional wisdom at every turn. Instead of fighting the quantum storm, they proposed using its own energy to power a series of reinforced shield generators. Rather than attempting a mass evacuation, they suggested reorganizing the colony's population into strategic safe zones. It's insane, Ambassador Vri declared. The calculations alone would take weeks to verify. We don't have weeks, Dr. Petal responded, her fingers dancing across data streams. We have hours. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts along with your calculations. The Council voted, not unanimously but with sufficient majority, to let the humans attempt their rescue. The Horizon departed immediately, carrying essential equipment hastily manufactured according to Rodriguez's specifications. The entire Alliance watched through long-range sensors as the small ship navigated the outer edges of the quantum storm, using its turbulence like a surfer riding ocean waves. Lieutenant O'Connor's piloting skills proved otherworldly. Instead of fighting the quantum fluctuations, he anticipated them, moving the ship through gaps that seemed to appear just as they needed them. The crew worked with a synchronized efficiency that seemed almost prescient, each member shifting roles and responsibilities as the situation demanded. When they reached the colony, the humans didn't waste time with standard protocols. Captain Chen split her small crew into teams, each moving to different sections of the settlement. The colonists watched in amazement as these strange beings from Earth moved among them, with purpose and confidence, setting up equipment, reorganizing living spaces, and calculating load distributions. The most remarkable moment came when a section of the colony's main dome began to buckle under the storm's assault. Traditional procedure would have called for immediate evacuation. Instead, Engineer Rodriguez, assisted by Dr. Patel, and two colonial engineers, physically climbed out onto the dome's surface. Protected only by hastily modified environmental suits, they installed a resonance dampener directly into the failing section. Impossible, Elder Kithen whispered, watching through the station's feeds. The radiation levels alone should have. High Admiral Zixtol finished, but didn't. They're rewriting what we think is possible with each passing moment. Hours passed in tense observation. The quantum storm raged, testing every repair, every calculation, every improvised solution. But gradually, something remarkable became apparent. The colony wasn't just surviving, it was stabilizing. The humans' unconventional approach was working. When the storm finally passed, 26 hours after the Horizon's arrival, the Meridian colony stood intact. Not a single life had been lost. More than that, the modifications and improvements made by the human crew had actually left the colony stronger than it had been before. The Horizon returned to the Celestial Watchtower carrying not just their crew, but also data about quantum storms that would revolutionize the Alliance's understanding of these phenomena. Captain Chen delivered their report to the Council with the same straightforward manner she'd shown since their arrival. We succeeded, she explained, not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we were willing to try solutions that seemed impossible. Humanity has learned that the universe doesn't care about what should or shouldn't work. It only cares about what does. As the council chambers erupted in discussion and debate, Elder Kathan approached Captain Chen privately. You could have waited, the elder observed. Could have let us exhaust our traditional options before offering your help. Your success would have been even more impressive then. No, Chen replied, her expression serious. Lives were at risk. Proving our worth means nothing if we sacrifice our values to do it. Humanity doesn't seek to impress. We seek to help, to solve, to save. That's who we are. The elder's form shimmered with what might have been understanding. The humans had passed a trial, but not the one the Alliance had thought they were setting. They had demonstrated not just their capability, but their character. In choosing to help immediately and without hesitation, they had shown something far more valuable than technical prowess or military might. They had shown what humanity truly valued. Echoes of Earth. In the aftermath of the Meridian Colony rescue, the Alliance Council requested something unprecedented. They asked to learn about Earth's history. The request wasn't born purely of curiosity. The Council needed to understand how a species could develop such an unusual approach to space exploration and survival. The presentation took place in the Grand Archive Chamber, where the histories of 1,000 worlds were stored in crystalline matrices. Captain Chen stood before the assembled representatives, but this time she wasn't there to demonstrate capability or solve a crisis. She was there to tell a story. Earth, she began, activating a holographic display of a blue-green planet, was never kind to us. We evolved on a world that constantly challenged our right to exist. Every advancement we made came at a price. Every step forward was earned through adaptation and persistence. The display shifted, showing scenes from human history that made many council members stir uncomfortably in their seats. Humans crossing vast oceans in wooden vessels, climbing impossible mountains, venturing into the depths of their oceans, and surviving in the harshest deserts. Your species seems drawn to danger, Ambassador Vri observed, their holographic form flickering with concern. We're drawn to discovery, Dr. Patel corrected. The danger was simply part of the journey. Every major advancement in human history came because someone looked at an impossible challenge and decided to try anyway. The presentation continued, showing humanity's first tentative steps into space. The Alliance representatives watched in fascination as humans sent primitive satellites into orbit, then basic spacecraft, then a single person to their moon. Each achievement seemed remarkably small in scale compared to other spacefaring civilizations' early developments. You sent one human to your moon. High Admiral Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. Our historical records show most species sending entire research bases as their first lunar installations. We sent one man first, Engineer Rodriguez explained, because that's all we could send. But more importantly, it's all we needed to send. That single step proved it was possible. After that, everything else was just a matter of persistence. The narrative continued through humanity's progression into their solar system. The council members noted a pattern emerging. Where other species had established large colonies and massive infrastructure before venturing further, humans had sent small expeditions, single ships, minimal but highly trained crews. Resources were always limited, Captain Chen continued. We never had the luxury of sending large fleets or establishing extensive networks before moving forward. We learned to make every launch count, every mission matter. Our ships had to be self-sufficient, our crews adaptable. The display showed the development of the first human interstellar ships. The Council was stunned to learn that humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel with technology that, by Alliance standards, should have been insufficient. You violated several laws of physics, Elder Kathan noted, their melodic voice carrying a hint of amusement. We worked with them instead, Lieutenant O'Connor corrected. When we couldn't match the power outputs of conventional drives, we found ways to be more efficient. When we couldn't build bigger ships, we built smarter ones. The presentation reached modern human history, showing Earth's first contacts with other intelligent life. The Council watched with growing understanding as humans approached each new species not with overwhelming force or technological displays, but with single ships carrying carefully chosen crews. Each of these missions, Dr. Paddle explained, carried the best of what humanity had learned through our history. Not our strongest weapons or our most advanced technology, but our most valuable asset, our ability to adapt, to think creatively, to survive. The final images showed the construction of the horizon itself. The Council could now see what they had missed before. The ship wasn't simple. It was elegant. Every system had redundancies. Every component served multiple purposes. Every design choice reflected thousands of years of learning to do more with less. "We sent one ship to meet you," Captain Chen concluded, "because that's how humanity faces the unknown. We don't need a fleet to prove our worth or demonstrate our capabilities. One ship, one crew, one chance. That's always been enough for us. It's not a limitation. It's a choice." High Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form had shifted to a deep blue of comprehension. "Your entire history is reflected in this approach. Every mission, every exploration, every journey into the unknown." Chen nodded. "We learned long ago that success doesn't come from overwhelming force or superior numbers. It comes from preparation, adaptability, and the willingness to take calculated risks." The council chambers remained silent for several moments after the presentation concluded. The history they had witnessed challenged many of their fundamental assumptions about technological and social development. Humanity hadn't developed like other spacefaring species. They had forged their own path, driven by necessity and shaped by constant adaptation. "You do not explore space as we do," Elder Cathan finally said, breaking the silence. "You explore it as your ancestors explored your oceans, your mountains, your deserts, always pushing forward, always adapting, always finding a way through with minimal resources, but maximum determination." "Exactly," Captain Chen replied. "The horizon isn't just a ship. It's the culmination of humanity's journey. Every lesson we learned, every challenge we overcame, every impossible task we accomplished, it's all reflected in how we approach space exploration. One ship at a time, one crew at a time, one step at a time." As the council members departed the chamber, many found themselves reevaluating their initial judgments. The humans hadn't sent one ship because they were weak or unprepared. They had sent one ship because their entire history had taught them that was all they needed, a lesson the Alliance was only now beginning to understand. A new understanding. The final session of the Alliance Council regarding humanity's diplomatic mission began differently than any in recent memory. Instead of the usual formal procession and ceremonial displays of power, the chamber was arranged in a simple circle, inspired by the human concept of roundtable discussions. The Horizon's crew sat among the representatives as equals, not as petitioners or guests. High Admiral Zixtel's crystalline form glowed with a steady, clear light as he addressed the assembly. "We have spent decades perfecting protocols for first contact, establishing criteria for evaluating new species, and measuring their worth through demonstrations of fleet strength and technological advancement. The humans have challenged every one of these assumptions." Ambassador Vri, whose initial skepticism had given way to reluctant admiration, spoke next. "Their approach defies our traditional metrics. How do we measure the strength of a civilization that sends its ships alone into the unknown? How do we quantify the power of adaptability?" "Perhaps," Elder Cathan suggested, their melodic voice carrying through the chamber, "we have been asking the wrong questions. We sought to measure humanity's strength by our standards, when we should have been learning from their example." The past weeks had transformed the Alliance's understanding of what was possible. The Horizon's crew had demonstrated problem-solving approaches that broke conventional paradigms. They had shown that a small, versatile team could accomplish what entire fleets considered impossible. But most importantly, they had revealed a fundamentally different way of viewing the universe and humanity's place within it. Captain Chen stood to address the council, her presence now commanding a respect that had nothing to do with military might or political power. "We didn't come here to change how you operate," she said. "We came to show you who we are. Humanity doesn't seek to dominate the stars or impose our will upon the galaxy. We seek to explore, to learn, to grow. and to help where we can. The data from the Meridian Colony rescue had been analyzed extensively. What had seemed like impossible improvisation was revealed to be the result of rigorous training combined with creative thinking. The humans hadn't broken physics. They had simply approached it from angles the Alliance had never considered. "Your methods are unorthodox," one of the draconian representatives admitted, "but their effectiveness cannot be denied." One ship accomplished what our entire emergency response fleet considered impossible. Engineer Rodriguez shared technical data from the Horizon systems, showing how human engineers had developed solutions that emphasized efficiency and adaptability over raw power. The ship's design reflected centuries of learning to work within limitations rather than trying to overcome them through brute force. "Each system serves multiple purposes," he explained. "When resources are limited, you learn to make everything count. Our ships don't need to be the biggest or the most powerful. They need to be clever, reliable, and adaptable." Dr. Paddle presented her analysis of the linguistic and cultural exchanges that had taken place. "We've learned that effective communication doesn't require massive databases or complex translation matrices. It requires understanding, empathy, and the willingness to find common ground." The Council members were beginning to see that humanity's approach to space exploration reflected something deeper than mere methodology. It represented a fundamental philosophy about how to face the unknown. "You have shown us," Elder Kathen observed, "that true strength lies not in the size of one's fleet or the advancement of one's technology, but in the ability to adapt, to solve problems creatively, and to face challenges with both courage and wisdom." High Admiral Zixtal rose, his crystalline form pulsing with colors that represented deep consideration. "The Alliance has long believed that unity comes from shared power, from the ability to project strength across the stars. But you have shown us a different kind of unity, one based on shared values, mutual respect, and the understanding that every civilization, no matter how different, has something valuable to contribute." The Council's final vote was unanimous, but it wasn't for what anyone had expected at the start of this journey. Instead of simply accepting humanity into the Alliance, they voted to create an entirely new category of membership, one that recognized the value of different approaches to space exploration and development. "The humans have taught us," the High Admiral declared, "that the galaxy is vast enough for many paths to the stars. Their way is not our way, but it is equally valid, equally valuable, and in many ways, equally powerful." Captain Chen accepted the Council's decision with characteristic straightforwardness. "We look forward to working together," she said, "not to change each other, but to learn from each other. The universe is too big, too complex, and too wonderful for any one approach to be sufficient." As the Horizon prepared for its journey home, carrying news of the successful diplomatic mission, the Alliance found itself transformed. The humans had arrived in a single ship, without fanfare or fleet, but they had left behind something far more valuable than a show of force. They had left a new understanding of what was possible. The Council chambers, once filled with discussions of fleet sizes and technological superiority, now buzzed with new ideas. How could the Alliance's massive resources be used more efficiently? How could their crews be trained to be more adaptable? What other assumptions about space exploration and development might need to be reconsidered? High Admiral Zixtal, watching the Horizon depart, reflected on the profound change that a single ship and its crew had brought to the Alliance. They had come seeking dialogue and understanding, but they had given so much more. They had shown that true strength comes not from overwhelming power, but from the courage to face the unknown with ingenuity, adaptability, and unwavering determination. The legacy of humanity's first contact would be felt for generations to come, not in the form of grand fleets or imposing displays of power, but in the simple truth they had demonstrated. Sometimes, one ship is all you need to change the galaxy.